right. Yo, 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 yo. Okay. Okay. This is working. Oh, God. It's been too long. Yo, what up? Welcome. Welcome, everybody. How you doing? Nice to see you guys in here. Can you hear me? I think you can hear me. So, let me see. There's so much content I want to watch. Quick question: do you paid members get access to your research tool you use in your vids? Yeah, more or less. Not like actual access, but we scrape a lot of those softwares, a lot of those paid research tools. That's where we get our data from, and we just post it in the lab. Jad's Menti, that's awesome, man. I love Jad. He's a beast. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the stream. We're about to watch some things. Just try to learn while I work, honestly, because I got some work to do this morning. And honestly, I love watching or having at least like podcasts in the background that I'm learning from while I watch or while I work. So I figured, you know what? Let me kill 3 birds with 1 stone here and just stream it. What's my opinion on Jad? I think Jad is an awesome guy, you know, super driven, super inspirational. So that's my opinion on him. Oh, I wanted to watch this Alex Hormozi video. I made 6 million in 60 days to show it's not luck. But we'll get some people coming in first. Get the stream going. And then we'll begin. But this looks really good. I'll move this, or maybe I'll move this up here. Yeah, that's probably better. All right. Well, welcome everybody. If you're just joining again, this is just a regular stream. I'm trying to stream twice a week now, you know, and build up some momentum for the streams again, get some clippers, people clipping the content, etc. This has been the plan for a while, but I've been very busy and just haven't been able to do it. So yeah, welcome everyone. Welcome. We'll be watching this Alex Hormozi video first. I'm just getting some work done here on my other screen. I got like the perfect setup. So yeah. Hey David. Okay, see, I made 6 million in 60 days to show it's not luck. Let's check this out.
I own 13 portfolio companies, and in one of them, I unlocked $6 million of enterprise value in 60 days by solving 3 problems, and I did it with data. So this is actually a sequel video, and you may remember our 3 wise men. They came and they were sad because they had problems that they wanted to fix. And they're already making twice as much money just from the fixes that we did from the sales. So we went from 56 units per month sold to 93 units again in 60 days. And so the problem that we encountered after we doubled the sales, now they had twice as many people going to get fulfilled on whatever the thing is that they sold. What was once shaky had completely been obliterated because it was already tough when they had the current amount, but with double, they were completely lost. So one of the never-ending issues in business is
Enterprise value, by the way, is not necessarily revenue. That's something to clear up right away, just because I think that some people may get that confused. It's different than revenue. Enterprise value is more so like valuation. So for example, if somebody says they unlocked 6 million in enterprise value, well, we'll see. But I think that means, like, let's say at a 3x valuation, that means he unlocked 2 million of revenue, which is a lot of money. But let's see what he says here.
There's something called the problem solution cycle. It works like this. You've got problems, you've got solutions. That's ugly as shit. Anyways, so the problem is when you solve a problem with a solution, you then create another problem. So if I 10x your sales, what's the next problem gonna be? And so we had to fix that problem now. We wanted to track these 3 stats because they didn't even have LTV tracked. The first was time to first value. The second was customer satisfaction. And then we had our ascension rates, or the absolute amount of money that they were making on the back end, which is after someone buys the first thing, they buy the second thing, right? So let's start with where they were at. And by the way, this E is not something fancy.
That's a really good thing to track for. I think even in e-com, that's like probably the best thing to optimize for is like lifetime value. That's not exactly what he's talking about this second. It's more so like the cycle of a customer, but that's pretty much the metric that you're ultimately optimizing for when you look at these things is customer lifetime value. In an e-com, that's so valuable. Like, the higher you can make that number, the more your business is going to be worth, the more you can spend on ads, the more you can spend on growth, etc. By the way, for those just joining the stream, we're watching some content while I get some work done. It's nothing crazy, but it's necessary. I just need to get some work done, but I also want to make content and watch some and learn. So it's like, this is a perfect mix of everything. And this is what I'm going to be doing a lot for the rest of the year. I'm going to be, instead of trying to watch content while I'm, not on YouTube, because I do that a lot. I watch so much content every day. I want to do it with you guys so I can chime in, add some of my golden nuggets of experience, and also learn with you, make it a more collaborative experience, and get some work done at the same time. I mean, perfect motivation. So I encourage each one of you right now, pull up some work, get some work done with me. Put this, on a little screen on the side, and let's get some work done while we learn. I mean, that's kind of the vibe right now. That's what I'm doing. So, you should do the same. Let's do it together. Why not, right? So let's continue here.
It just should be there, but y'all are cool, so we'll go with it. All right, time to first value is a really interesting statistic. It's probably one of the ones that I care the most about in any kind of service. So in the world of content,
that's what I was saying.
Watching TV, there's different shows that you might watch. So each show, they calculate an actual retention point. And so Breaking Bad, for example, is one of the best shows of all time. They found that if someone made it to the 3rd episode, they had like an 87% likelihood of finishing the entire 5 seasons if they got to that point. And so different shows have a different retention point that hooks the viewer for the long haul. And so that's what we're ultimately driving towards. You can call it a retention point, you can call it activation, you can call it whatever you want, but there's a key moment that transforms the customer relationship into a long-term commitment with you. And what you're
first time watching the streams, welcome. Yeah, I haven't streamed in a long time, so it makes sense, but I'll start doing it more often again because it's really fun for me. And it's a great way to maximize my time right now in productivity.
Your goal is to pull that as far forward to the present as you possibly can. You don't have to deliver the ultimate result immediately. I mean, the faster you can do that, the better. But what you want to do is break it into many small chunks and show leading indicators of success. So in other words, progress. And the more times that you can break down an outcome into tinier chunks, the more reinforced the customer will be for staying with you. So for example, if I was in a high touch agency, so I did marketing services for someone, And let's say we touch base once every 2 weeks, right? Now, I do a lot of things between those 2 weeks for the customer. But if every 2 weeks I correspond with them, then they're gonna get reinforced every 2 weeks for me doing stuff. Now, consider a different way of doing it. I onboard them, and then every day I send them what I did to work on their behalf. At the end of that 2 weeks, they would have had 14 different positive interactions with me versus 1. You can take what you're currently doing, not change much about it, and simply communicate it differently so that they can perceive a faster time to first.
That's a really good call. I've seen this actually you guys know I run an agency, and I would say we're pretty successful. We're working with some incredible brands doing like multiple millions in revenue for the brands. And this is so true. Sometimes people will literally love you more just because you communicate more than if you get better results. And it's the same with e-com. I've seen it happen over and over again in our own brands and in the brands that we work with, our partners' brands. Sometimes people, I'll explain it and then I'll tell you how you can set it up yourself. But what he said is so true. If you just communicate more with your customer, they will perceive your business in a better light. They will perceive your product in a better light. They'll like it better. And it's just going to be a more positive experience for them. So it's a good idea to prioritize communication and customer service in e-com. It's actually really easy to automate this. Obviously, if you have an incredible customer service team, that makes it pretty easy. But you can automate this without any manual labor. You can set up email flows on Klaviyo. You can set up literally like 2 months worth of flows that just communicate with your customer along the customer journey. So let's say your product takes a week to arrive. Boom. You can just set up literally an email every single day of the week before the product arrives, kind of telling them some of the benefits of the product, maybe some ideas on how they can use the product once they do receive it to get them excited about it, telling them some reviews. I don't know, just so many things. So that's a good idea to do if you are an e-com, if you're an agency, if you have any kind of business. Ari got me from $1 to $2.99 a day in 30 days. Let's go. Lambo coming soon. Ari, good to see you, brother. Welcome, Adam. Nice to see you too. Yeah, it's great to get recognized. There's not many people that go live in YouTube, and they just go in under the list of everyone on YouTube Home. If you find time, live is very effective. You're totally right. And I do have time. I mean, like I said, especially if I'm utilizing the time that I'm live to get some other work done and to learn some information, that's kind of a no-brainer to me. So I'm going to be doing this a lot more. Less communication creates suspense and a place open for fear or doubt to kick in. Facts. That's a really great way to explain it. And I've actually felt that many times, even with my own team. If I don't see communication on a given day happening, I get like a little bit of a pit in my stomach for sure. I'm like, uh-oh. Like it feels like something's wrong for sure. So that's such a good point, man. And yeah, like I said, even this happens in your team. This happens in your business. This happens probably even with your audience, right? Like if I don't make a video for a week, you guys are probably going to be like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. Something must be wrong. So great point right there. Easy to do with your business. So keep that in mind.
First value. That's the idea here. For example, in the gym launch world, in the beginning it was if we can get someone to do a high ticket sale in the first 7 days, it would triple the LTV for us. So then instead of trying to think about churn or any of these metrics, we said, let's just try and make sure every single person gets that sale as fast as possible. And so that's what we'd measure. The way that we eventually would go to was how quickly they would launch an internal campaign for us and how much they generated from that. So our goal then became how quickly can we get them to send the emails that we want them to send. That's 2 different examples of different time to first values. And without further ado, let us show you the before data. So for the time to first value was 47 days. Got to improve that. Imagine you buy something and it takes you more than 6 weeks, almost 7 weeks to hit that first real value. The second way was the customer satisfaction score. And survey says, what was their customer satisfaction? Non-existent, because they didn't even track the data. I'm giving you the real stuff here. Ascension, all right? So what percentage of customers did they send, or how much money were they making from ascensions on the back end? Survey says $0 because they didn't have a back end. When I say back end, I mean, again,
This is so, like, this makes it so clear where people need to spend more of their time, at least for me, because I've seen the difference it makes having a backend. And like I said, even just simple email flows can work so well. It's so easy to automate. It just takes like one time of setup. And guys, if you have a business, by the way, like if you literally are making money and you're looking at this and you're like, man, I don't have a backend, reach out to us. Reach out to akemi.co. We can help you set it up. That's what we're all about. We're just trying to, that's literally my entire focus. It's just thinking about how we can grow businesses. You can save lives and create content or shorts. Facts. So that's kind of the goal. I'm trying to stream more. I want to put out more content that's relevant and put things out there that you guys will like and clip things up, make more short form content, but maximize the amount of time that I'm using, because I don't want to be making content 24/7 myself. That's a little too exhausting. It's draining. But if I can stream, like streaming isn't really, to me, it's like the most organic or the most authentic way to make content, because there's no cuts. Like I can't just repeat something over and over again until I get it perfect. I have to get it perfect right away. Or I don't have to get it perfect. That's kind of the point. I can just do whatever I want, and I love that. So if I can watch content while I make content in the most authentic way possible, which is my goal, and get some work done, I mean, that's pretty incredible. I feel like I cracked the code here. So I'm going to keep trying to do this and making, more content through using my time smarter. Can you give tips on how to stay driven while living alone? Yeah, man. So after this video, there's a few videos that I found super good that are very inspirational, and they're from a guy that interviews, or he works with billionaires literally to motivate them. So the good news is, even people at the highest level, they struggle with this too, like staying driven, having imposter syndrome, not believing in themselves, or thinking that their goals are impossible to reach. Even people who have already achieved, from our point of view, incredible things, impossible things even. So I think that's the first thing to realize, is like you're not alone, and it never ends. Like you're always going to struggle with that a little bit. So I think the best way to solve that is to, first of all, acknowledge that, like I just said, but then second of all, to just set yourself up for success, like build habits, basically. Make it easy for you yourself to get work done. So for me, some of the things, for example, making content is kind of hard sometimes. Like it's not hard in the moment. It's hard. The hardest part is like getting to it. So I make it easy for myself to just get to it. Like I have my whole camera already set up here all the time, even if I'm not making content. So all I need to do is press record. That's one way. Or for example, with my team, because a lot of my work these days is just talking to my team a lot. So sometimes it's like, I don't want to talk to my team, right? But I know I should. So I have Slack on my phone. That may seem unhealthy to some people, but it works for me. So then literally right away in the morning, I can just start talking to my team and getting things done. So just build habits that are going to make it easy for you to get work done, even if you're not feeling driven at the time. But again, another thing that really helps is walking around. Literally just walking around helps. And the reason why I learned is because when you're walking around, like the same part of your brain that activates when you're doing something called divergent thinking, which is when you're thinking of ideas and kind of piecing things together, basically, just brainstorming. That's kind of a good way to think of divergent thinking, as brainstorming. That same part of your brain activates when you're walking around, when you're moving around. So if for whatever reason you're just not feeling that drive, try to go walk around, because it literally will activate that part of your brain. So you don't even need to, it'll automatically motivate you. So then of course it's well, maybe you're lazy to go walk around. I totally feel you. These are things that happen to everybody. I go through this myself. Yesterday I felt the same way. I was like, I don't want to go walk around, but my apartment was literally 90 degrees yesterday because I just get a lot of sun and, you know, it just gets hot in here basically. So I was like, I don't even want to be in here. So that forced me to go walk around. And when I went to walk around, I just got so many ideas. I got so motivated somehow. I was like, oh man, I was like thinking, man, I really want to go back so I can do like these things that I just thought about. So try that and let me know how it goes. But let's finish this video. We're only 4 minutes in. That's kind of crazy. Okay.
The second thing or the thing after the first thing that they were selling. These are not pretty statistics. That's okay though. This means that, again, for us as investors, huge opportunity for improvement, and that's where I get great returns. So, product problem number 1, high churn. What's churn, Alex? Great question. It's the percentage of customers that leave from this month to next month. So if I start the month with 100 customers, those same 100 customers a month later, how many of them choose to renew? So if 95% of them choose to renew, then I have 5% churn. So this particular business was a 16-week implementation. So 16 weeks is how long people were committing to on the front end. The problem was people weren't even making it through the first thing all the way. The reason this is so important is that it's one of the largest profit drivers in a business.
That's so funny because this is something I was talking to one of our partners about, because we were thinking about like, oh man, how do we scale to $1 million a month? And you know, we were starting to think of new products, new ads, etc., which, you know, those things can help. But then we were like, wait, what is one thing, like what's our monthly recurring revenue? Because it's a monthly like there's a subscription option for this product. And that's what I asked him. I was like, wait, you know, let's take a step back. Like what is our monthly recurring revenue right now? And it's like, oh, like 200K, let's say. I think it was like 150. And I was like, oh, wait, that's awesome. But what's our churn? Like how many people are canceling? And we found out it was 25% of people, 1/4 of everybody that bought the product or bought the subscription were canceling. So literally if we just reduce that by half, we would like double our monthly recurring revenue at the pace that we're acquiring customers. So like just with math, like if you think about that, I mean, that's how you scale to $1 million a month. Like that's really the solution. It's not literally anything else. So yeah, that's a really good point right here.
So let me give you an example. If we had 2 ways to make X dollars, all right, and X dollars from keeping a customer means they stay for 3 more months. And X dollar from getting a new customer means we have to pay to get a new customer. So we pay Mr. YouTube or we pay Mr. Facebook $1,000 to get X dollars. Or we could pay $60 in staff or labor to get the same X dollars. So let's say I had to pay for an hour of extra work per month for my team to reach out or hop on a phone call or 2 30-minute phone calls with the customer per month. So we got 30 minutes times 2, 30 minutes times 2, 30 minutes times 2. Now you might be like, man, that's a whole lot of work. Well, let's say I'm paying $20 an hour, and so this is $20, this is $20, this is $20. They'd be like, wow, again, so much work. But look at my return. The $60 to get the X versus the $1,000 to get the X is like 17 times more profitable. And if I'm an investor, which everyone who runs a business is, just on a micro level, that's a way better return. And so I should be allocating as much effort into that bucket until I can't do any more in this bucket, and then go to my less efficient ways of allocating capital. The biggest and easiest problem that we identified was that their customer success team was arbitrarily checking in, all right? Meaning they would just be like, hey, what's going on? Let me go take some of your time with no agenda. Rather than being 1, proactive, and 2, knowing what problem the person should already be experiencing at this point in their 16-week implementation. Because after all, for this particular product, they were taking everyone through a choreographed experience, except it wasn't a choreographed experience, which is not the way to do business. So if you know that everyone in week 1 or 2 is gonna be suffering from one of these 2 problems, then you'd start the call with saying, hey, most people at this point are at point A or point B, where are you right now? And they're automatically, boom, you're right into it, and they're like, this is value additive, this is actually helping me. Whereas you're like, what's going on, John? And then she's like, everything sucks. And you're like, oh, why does everything suck? It's like you don't seem informed, you don't seem on top of it, you don't seem proactive. And just by doing this, it sets an entirely different tone for the customer relationship because they're like, these guys know what they're doing. And I feel better about paying them. And this is why knowing that key milestone that you're driving towards, that activation point, that time to first value, is so key, because what you do is now all of your communication and all of your efforts are gonna be targeted and optimized to get this one single outcome, right? So if I know that I need to get somebody to get their first sale in 7 days that's high ticket in order to triple their lifetime value, think about the resources that I can put there. So if someone goes from $17,000 in LTV to $50,000 in LTV, which is much more like the stats were for Gym Launch, I have $20,000, $30,000, $3,000 of resources that I have at my disposal of almost all profit to deploy to get that one thing to happen. So how many resources do you think I should put towards that? A ton. And so when we get on the call, we're like, hey man, let's send that email out together right now. You're like, oh, I don't know how to do it. Don't worry, I've got my tech guy with me here. We're gonna connect the things that you were probably struggling with. Were you struggling with that? Oh my God, this is great. Wow, they're on top of this. Cool, by the end of this call, we're gonna send that email. And then the likelihood, if they sent the email, that they make the sale, extremely high. And that's how you can drive towards this outcome. If we haven't even defined that, we're like, hey, where are you at? In the steps. And they're like this, and you're like, okay, cool. Well, I haven't been able to get to it yet. Okay, don't worry about it. Take your time. I don't want to overwhelm you. Like, waste of time. Waste your time, waste your staff's time. And you're ultimately not going to extend the LTV and get them a good experience. Problem number 2, survey says, no backend. All right, remember, backend is the second thing you sell. What these guys were doing, and it's a very common mistake, is to say, hey, after the 16 weeks, you can stay in the community, participate in all the stuff that we have, absolutely free. And that's usually just an attempt to sell more people on the front end. But it actually creates lots of problems, because what you do is you create an endless liability for a one-time income, right? So if I say, hey, I'll personal train you for free after 6 months if you pay the first 6 months. It's like, well, sure, I got the first 6 months, but now the rest of my life, if I want to be a man of my word, I have to train this person. That's a terrible, unending liability, even though in the beginning it feels like it's a good idea. The other issue is that it actually drives less client success. So let me explain. If I know that I'm going to have to start paying more at a certain time in the future, I'm going to be more likely to take action faster, right? If I know that I can do it whenever, it means I do it never. So the idea is we want to have that sting at the end that they know about, so that we can drive forward that time to value. So you remember this little problem solution cycle I was talking about? We got our problems, we got our solution. Well, the good news is that you can actually use this to make more money. Because if you properly solve the first problem that they're presenting with your solution, then you should also introduce the next problem. And here's the key point. You should know what that problem is better than your customer does. Why? Because you've done this a zillion times. And so they might think, hey, once I lose weight, all my problems are gonna be gone. But that's not true. There's a lot of other things that they're gonna have to do as a result of that. They're gonna have loose skin, they're gonna have to change their wardrobe. Now they want a six-pack rather than losing weight. You're just gonna introduce new problems. And so after you get someone down to their high school weight, the next solution you might have for them would be our six-pack program, right? And so you lead them down to their ultimate goal. But if you said, hey, when someone walks in the door, let me get you a six-pack, they're like, dude, I'm just trying to get my high school weight. And so you have to meet them where they're currently at. And so this is how great businesses continue to stay and profit from customers for years, is by knowing, well, one, effectively solving the first problem you promised that you were going to solve, but then because you're so good at solving the first problem, actually creating the second. Most businesses don't solve the first problem and then don't give themselves the opportunity to solve the next one. And as a result, don't make nearly as much money as they could. Problem number 3, no metric tracking. This seems like a common theme, doesn't it? And given the sheet that I showed you
That's a
earlier,
good one.
2 out of the 3 were basically not tracked or non-existent, right?
That's why I really love Triple Whale these days. Oh, and by the way, yeah, that's a A&H giveaway. That's a good summary. Acknowledge the fact that you're not alone. 2, build habits to make it easy to get into. 3, walk around for recreation methods. Yeah, that's a great way to build, or to just like become more driven, is by just having the habits that help you be more driven, for sure. That helps. But yeah, this is really important. Tracking metrics is surprisingly important, and Triple Whale makes it really easy. If you have a business, if you're running ads and you're running ads on multiple platforms, that's a good way to make sure that you're profitable everywhere. And actually that allows you to spend more money in the right places too. So
And honestly, it's more common than you'd think. You know what I can absolutely promise you is that if you don't measure a metric, you're not going to improve it. And so one of the beautiful things about once you start tracking the metrics is that then you can tie incentives to achieving those metrics. So both on an individual level and at a team level.
That makes a lot of sense. Like so he said one of the reasons why it's so important to track your metrics, there's a million reasons, but one of the most important ones is that it allows you to set the right incentives for the right metrics. That is so powerful because incentives are how you build great things, to be honest, because you need great people to build great things. And in order to get great people, you need to know how to incentivize those people. What's up, man? What's up, Scrate? Or Scrat? Scrate? Welcome. What is your opinion on using Printify as like drop shipping? I think that's a great starting point. Why not? Printify. There's a lot of people that are setting up TikTok shops right now, probably with Printify or some sort of print-on-demand fulfillment option, and making really funny TikToks about it. So I think that's a great idea. That's a great business idea right now. I've seen people make at least like 10,000. I've seen people at least make like 5K a month in sales on TikTok shop right now, just creating print-on-demand designs that are funny and making funny TikToks about it and linking the designs on TikTok shop. And what happens then is that it creates a compounding effect because other people see that and then other people want to make funny content around them and it makes everything sell more. So I think that's a great idea. What are my thoughts on TikTok shop? I think TikTok shop is the new frontier of e-commerce right now. It's just I wouldn't say unexplored. Here, we'll keep watching this video, but let me show you something because this is a tool that I've been kind of addicted to. I only discovered it a couple days ago, but oh shit, hold on. Okay, there. But it's called Callo Data. I love data tools. I'm a big data fiend because data doesn't care about your feelings. And I mean, I'm a pretty empathetic guy, I would say, but I think these days too many people are too extreme about their opinions and it's just hard to know the truth. So that's why I really love data. But data can be misleading sometimes, but that's besides the point. This, tells you everything you need to know about TikTok shop because as you see, some of these products are literally printing 1 million a week. I'm talking a week, not a month, a week. So pretty unbelievable. This supplement company, for example, it's like a oil company. They're selling this coconut oil or something. $750,000 in sales in the last 7 days, and it's only going up. So that tells you everything you need to know about TikTok shop. Or these pants, this fashion store, 500,000 in sales in the last 7 days. This microphone, 475,000 in sales in the last 7 days. And let's look at the last 30 days, right? Let's see. Yeah, these guys have done 5 million in 30 days. Just crazy stuff. Let's see yesterday. Even literally just yesterday. Wow, Wise is in the race. So look, big retailers. Wise is a $1 billion company, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. So they've gotten funded $155 million. Their estimated revenue is 10 to 50 million. Okay, so not quite a $1 billion company, but let's say $200 million company. And they're on TikTok shop. And they're at 65,000. They did 65,000 just yesterday on TikTok shop. So that's a significant amount of revenue for them. That's a lot of revenue for them. If they're doing 10 to 50 million a year, and they've raised 155 million in funding. This is like a legit business, right? This isn't like a drop shipping kind of business. It's a massive business, and it's getting meaningful revenue from TikTok Shop. I think that tells you everything you need to know about TikTok Shop. So I think this is a great thing to be taking advantage of for all e-commerce businesses. And just in general, even as a creator, even if you're not building an e-com business and you just want to make content, there's never been a better time to be a content creator because of all the options for monetization. And this is one of them. TikTok Shop is one of them, because here's the other cool thing about this. We can see the creators and how much revenue they've driven. So let's say yesterday, Kayla Caputo drove $43,000 in revenue with 172,000 followers. So let's say she made 20% commissions on this, which is actually pretty realistic. That's like almost 10K a day. That's like an almost 10K day. That's insane. Just making content. Like, that's so wild to me. So, this is why you should never worry about things like e-commerce like ending or something, or dropshipping being over. There's really nothing. Things only are getting better, it seems like. Yes, things are competitive, but there's also better tools now. So can you name 3 things that are bad about dropshipping in your experience? Oh yeah. One thing is the customer satisfaction is usually very low. So that makes it really hard to build a sustainable business, and I hate that. The other thing is the copycats are kind of annoying. The fake DMCAs are the worst, because obviously there's going to be copycats in every business, and that's fine. But the copycats that DMCA you, like falsely DMCA you, that's probably the worst thing about dropshipping. And then the last thing that is bad about it is, honestly, that's probably the only 2 things that are really bad about it, because everything else to me is pretty good. I guess the last thing would be like counterfeit products, like people who scam, literally, or do like MRR scams. That's another pretty bad thing. So I would say those are the 3 bad things: low customer satisfaction, fake DMCAs, and scams. But there's 3, like, if I could name the 3 good things, are low barrier to entry, which is good for learning, for getting more people into entrepreneurship. I don't want to say it's like less wasteful, because it isn't at the end of the day if you're selling low quality products, but you are removing a whole step of the supply chain, which probably is actually making a positive difference in the world in a way. But I like that there's low barrier to entry, and it teaches people entrepreneurship with less risk. So low risk is another thing I love about it. And yeah, like flexibility. It's just nice to be able to pivot and, do things. Can you run TikTok Shop if your supplier uses UniExpress? I think for now you can, but probably not in the future. Unless UniExpress becomes like even faster, which honestly it probably will. At this point, I only have positive views of the future of e-commerce and dropshipping and all of it. Like, I feel like China is going to continue to figure out cheaper ways and faster ways to ship directly to the US. Who knows? Maybe in the future we'll have like drones that just ship stuff from literally China, like that can go at the speed of sound. Who knows, right? Like, I just feel like things are only going to be more accessible. So, but for now, I think you can use UniExpress. I don't want to go off on a huge tangent, but I think you can use UniExpress for now. But in the future, you probably will need to have US fulfillment, or fulfillment in whichever country you're operating in. But for now, I think it's kind of the Wild West. So yeah, let's finish this Hormozi video quick.
Because incentives is what's going to drive behavior. And so if you want your clients to have this milestone, which we can now track with metrics, then we can incentivize and put real resources behind making sure that they actually achieve them. And people are willing to take the extra step, go the extra mile to make sure this happens because they get compensated for it. But if we don't have this up front, we can't do any of those things. So we went over 3 problems on their back end, right? Is that they weren't delivering on promises. And we knew that because they had high churn, they didn't even really have a back end, and they had no metrics around success, right? You can predict how good someone is at whatever a skill is based on the quality and the quantity of the data they track. And these guys track none of it. So we can kind of guess how good the back end was. And mind you, that's okay, right? Like we still chose to invest in this company because we saw opportunity, we saw the spirit of the founders, we saw the desire to get better. And that's all I really need. As long as someone has work ethic and they have the desire to continue to improve, cool, we can help that stuff. Like that's why we do what we do. But if you're at like $100,000 a year, or $500,000 or $1 million a year, like it's normal to not have all these pieces. That's why it takes time to build something great. I don't want this video to be taken as like, I need to stop what I'm doing and start doing this. This might not be the constraint of your business, but when you are there, you'll know what to do. All right, so let's look at our handy dandy data sheet. And now you know what's going on, you have some context, you know what the problems are, and you know what our current stats are with our weird before. Put in the comments below what you think you would do to fix these problems in this business.
Oh, okay.
I know you guys want to see the after numbers, and I'm going to show them to you in a moment. But before I do, I'm going to show you step by step which solutions we did in what order so that we actually achieve those.
Let's see.
Solution number 1. Improve customer onboarding. What we did was they didn't have an onboarding process for getting customers to start. They got sold and they got tossed into this big bucket of other.
So onboarding is a way to reduce churn. Okay, I'm gonna write that down because these are some of the issues that some of the businesses I work with face. So this will help me. Let's see. I'm gonna make a streaming journal, like a journal of things I learned while I stream, and I'll share it. I'll just build it up here. Let's see. Boom. Streaming lessons. Pin. So a way to reduce churn. Improve onboarding experience. Oh, first I'm gonna write the product problems that prevent you from scaling to $1 million a month. That prevent you from scaling to 1 million a month. And then 1 would be high churn, 2 would be no backend, 3 would be no metric tracking. Solutions. 1, a way to reduce churn, improve onboarding experience. Cool.
Customers. It's obviously not good. And so what we did was we created a choreographed onboarding process. And that was from the moment the sale closes, the moment they get off the phone, all the way until they begin implementation. So here's a fun stat for you. People will make a lasting impression about your business within the first 24 hours after the transaction. Wild. So many people, maybe you watching this, don't really have any good communication or process in the first 24 hours. You might be like, oh yeah, Sandra's gonna touch base with you in 4 days. Dude, way too long from now. So if we sell someone, we want multiple points of communication, multiple points of open and closed loops. And what I mean by that is saying, I'm gonna make this promise, and I'm gonna keep this promise. I'm gonna make this promise, I'm gonna keep this promise. I wanna get like 4, 5, 6 promises opened and fulfilled within the first 24 hours. Because they're like, man, these guys are on it. Even if something that you would do all at once, just take that one thing that has 6 checkpoints and and make it 6 individual promises and fulfill all of them. They'll be so much more impressed with you. So we did a lot of things to fix the back end, and I had my team actually write down the things that we did in this business so that I could have all the up-to-date details for you. So we did 4 things just to improve this customer onboarding experience. So number 1 is that we created a sales and CS team synchronicity, meaning we just aligned both teams through the internal handoff process. We actually created a handoff process so that it's like, hey, before we go, I'm gonna connect you with Sandra. Sandra's gonna be your point of contact, and as a way of life, I'm gonna give you this thing that you can give to your team. Bam, fam. Book a meeting from a meeting. There should never be a client who's in no man's land. They should never be lost in the process. They should always know when the next communication and the next correspondence in terms of meeting is going to be. The next thing we did was we started tracking all client goals. So on the sales call, we would ask client what their goal is. We could understand why they really wanted to buy this thing. Then what we did was we passed it on to the customer service team. And when they would hop on with the customer, they'd be like, hey, Johnny told me that you're trying to retire your wife. Or hey, Johnny told me you wanted to clean your house, or whatever it was, because you have a wedding coming up. And so you have this clear reason why that we reiterate to the customer, and they're like, wow, I didn't even have to tell this person, these guys are on it. Notice this recurring theme is that they're like, wow, these guys are airtight. They go above and beyond. The third thing we did was reset expectations for the customer. So the sales team is gonna set expectations, obviously, because they're selling. But now that they're on the other side of the paywall, you get to reset the expectation. And this should be restating and re-emphasizing exactly what the salesperson said. If you're disconnected or disjointed between sales and CS, it creates a lot of dissonance, and people are like, wait, this isn't what I signed up for. And that's what you don't want. So if right now you get a lot of cold feet or backouts or people asking for refunds really early, it's usually because there's a disconnect between first transaction or first conversation and second conversation. Then after resetting the expectations, we would resell them on the purchase. And this is important because especially if it's a big purchase or it's an involved purchase, meaning a gym membership isn't a big purchase, but it's a big commitment for the customer. And so we want to resell them on their why and why it's going to be worth it. Tell them some stories of people just like them who were in the same position, who saw the outcome they ultimately want. And the fourth thing we did to improve the onboarding process is that we set the outline of steps to achieve the target. And this is really important. As we're saying,
Created sales, okay.
listen, you want this thing, let me tell you what the steps are going to look like. And once you outline them, we continue to engage the client throughout. And so that whole process became standardized, and that was the fourth process step that we used to improve the onboarding process. So you're like, wait a second, we have one problem, we have one fix, but this fix had 4 pieces to it. And the answer is yes, is that you're not gonna fix churn with one thing. It's gonna be many small things. There's gonna be many golden babies, no silver bullets. Product fix number 2, over here. So we implemented a CRM and customer KPI tracking. So if you don't measure it, you can't improve it, or rather, you won't know even if you did. We have a lot of pros at Holdco for acquisition.com, and so when we take a company on, we're like, listen, let's put all of the systems in place and just install that stuff so we can improve all these metrics. It's one of the easiest ways that we just provide tons of value and grow the enterprise value of the business overall. So that's exactly what we did. And my team gave me some notes to make sure I can give you even more details on it. So we started tracking time to value, and we started tracking churn within the CRM automatically. And so this allowed us to,
Hold up, I gotta see what he said.
How many customers on it? So improve all these metrics. We take a company on, we're like, even if you did. We have a lot of pros at Holdco for acquisition.com, and so when we take a company on, we're like, listen, let's put all of the systems in place and just install that stuff so we can improve all these metrics. It's one of the easiest ways that we just provide tons of value and grow the enterprise value of the business overall. So that's exactly what we did. And my team gave me some notes to make sure I can give you even more details on it. So we started tracking time to value, and we started tracking churn within the CRM automatically. And so this allowed us to, in real time, see how many customers are hitting their activation points and how many customers are leaving. There are 2 types of indicators in business. You've got leading and lagging. Our lagging indicators are like churn, is that you don't fix churn. Churn is a result. So you have to do things before the bad result happens to fix it. And so we know if someone doesn't show up to the gym for a month, that becomes a leading indicator that they're going to cancel. If someone doesn't log into Netflix for a long period of time, the likelihood they cancel goes up compared to somebody who logs in and watches every day. One of the biggest unlocks in a business, especially in a recurring revenue business, is figuring out what are the leading indicators that get someone to leave or stay, and then driving towards those leading indicators to make sure that they don't leave. And with the CRM, we were to automate customer satisfaction surveys to all customers in real time. So we could see how we were doing and segment it by customer service representative. And so we could see, okay, the team's at X, but Sandy ain't dragging her weight and she is sandbagging, true to her name. And so we have to give Sandy the boot or get Sandy up to snuff so that she doesn't drag the whole team down. But we wouldn't be able to do that unless we first were able to show Sandy, hey Sandy, here's a stat that says that you are worse than everyone else, which means that you have to do something better or do something different than you currently are. Why don't you follow the process that everybody else is following, and you'll probably be able to win too. Which segues almost perfectly into commissioning the team for customer success. Now, a lot of people think that the only people who should get commissions are salespeople. And I think that's silly, because believe it or not, a lot more of your profit is driven from customer success. So what we did was, with the new CRM that we'd implemented, notice how these things kind of happened in sequence, right? Like we had to hit the CRM, once we had the CRM, then we had the metrics. Now once we had the metrics, we could say, hey, these are your metrics that you need to improve, and this is the target or range that we want your metric to be in. And then we can commission them weighted against how far into that range they were. So if you're at 100%, you're gonna get 2x. If you're at 50%, you're gonna get X. If you're at 0%, you're gonna get 0x. That's the idea. With this implementation program, it was 16 weeks, and if people are getting to 12 weeks, then it would be weighted as 12 versus 16. So it's gonna be weighted at 75%. I'm giving this as a simple example, but you can use this concept to commission anyone for any particular metric that you wanna drive. So the whole idea is that once we had the few metrics that we knew drove success, we would get more people to become successful, which got more people to stay and pay longer, and then would naturally lead to the next problem, which is that we now had all these customers who were finishing and had WIP, or willingness to pay, and be sold more stuff. And so that's exactly what we did. Survey says, no backend, built backend. And so what we did was we actually did implement a wall at the end of the 16 weeks. So rather than saying it's 16 weeks and then after that you just get this community, we said you have to pay to stay. But we had driven all the other metrics to make sure that people were succeeding prior to the end of that. So we had people who were ready to move on and saying, hey, what's the next thing? And so what we did was we rolled this out really slowly because we didn't want to shock the system. And so right as soon as we rolled it out, we got 10% of customers to ascend into the paying option, which is great. And then as we tracked it over the next 60 days, we got it up to 27% of people ascending into the paid option. This is pure created revenue on the back end for no real additional cost besides the cost of this commission that we had to add to the customer service team and a one-time implementation of a CRM. So think about this on returns on capital. You'd have this back end that would continue to stack and stack and stack over time, and that then translates to how much more you can market and sell on the front end, because if your cost to acquire stays the same, but you double your LTV, you can sometimes market 10 times more, not just twice as much. So in this particular instance, because I told you at the beginning that we added $6 million in enterprise value, there's two elements that really drove EV. One was when you add a recurring element to a business, it decreases the risk that revenue will disappear, right? So if there's recurring revenue, it will become more valuable. And so this backend was a recurring backend. The second way that it increased enterprise value is that not just changing the nature of the revenue, but also changing the amount of profit that we were making, because that added revenue that we added to the backend per month ultimately became profit to the business on the bottom line. And so we have profit, which then gets multiplied by a higher multiple because it's recurring. And so those two things together unlock even more enterprise value, which is why some of this incredibly boring stuff like customer success can make you a ton of money. So let's talk data. Boom! All right, so I told you before, we had our time to value. This should be time to value, by the way, but it's okay. So we have time to value, we have our customer satisfaction, and we have
moment of truth. Let's see.
47 days, non-existent, and $0. So we did these things, and our time to value went from 47 days to, survey
1
says,
day. Okay.
ugly ass tear, 34 days. Our customer satisfaction went from non-existent, because we weren't even tracking it, to, survey says, and we were able to do this because we had implemented our CRM, 98%. So we actually have pretty happy customers overall, which is pretty cool. Now, if I were to piecemeal this out, 98, I'm like, a little sus. What I'm guessing is this is probably right after our really good choreographed onboarding, is that we did the customer satisfaction surveys. When you want to start parsing this out, you can start tracking them at week 0, week 2, week 4, week 8, week 12. Now, if you do that many surveys, people will start resenting the fact they're asking surveys. So it's really kind of a push-pull of how able you are to collect the data and how you collect the data. So for example, if I were to get on a call, which I do have regularly scheduled, and say, hey, by the way, on a scale from 1 to 10, how likely would you refer a friend? They might give us a score. Now that score might be different than if it was sent to them voluntarily. The other part, to add even more mud to the water, the only people who choose to respond to a customer satisfaction survey are typically either very happy or very sad, but you usually lose the middle. So this is just all to say, it is a metric that you can track. It doesn't mean it's the end all be all. So I could try and like brag and say, look, 98%, we totally crushed it. I would suspect that this is because we put it right after a choreographed process, which is good. All this tells me is that people enjoyed the onboarding. which is better than not having one to begin with. And the last one was Ascension, all right? And if you're like, wait, where did the $6 million to enterprise value come from? Drum roll, please. We went from $0 to $140,000 in backend that we were able to do. So this is over 60 days, so it's 2 months. And this will continue to increase. But if we just split this in half and said $70,000 a month in profit that we were able to add to the business over the year, that's just under $1 million. And if you multiply that by 6, which would probably be a standard enterprise value multiple for a company of this size, then we added about $6 million in enterprise value to the business. But we could not have done this one if we hadn't fixed all of these other things first. We improved the customer onboarding. We then implemented the CRM and created KPI tracking so that we could then commission the customer success team on the
That's awesome. That's fire.
activation points and the leading indicators that would ultimately drive success for the clients. And we had the customer satisfaction surveys that we could also...
By the way, guys, I'm over here getting some work done on one screen over here, not, watching content and learning and vibing with you guys. I encourage all of you to pull up your work too. Get some work done here while we learn. Might as well, right? Whether you're building your e-com business, your agency, whatever it is, get some work out, do some product research while we watch this stuff. Maybe, put up a TikTok or repurpose your content from TikTok to YouTube Shorts, something like that. That's literally what I'm about to do just now. I actually am doing that, so you should try it yourself as well. But yeah, get some work done while we watch this stuff.
Implement to make sure that people and their reps, in any ways, even from a behavioral standpoint, just them knowing that whenever they talk to somebody, they're going to get surveyed afterwards, and you can segment it by rep. It just keeps people more honest. So they're more on their game. They're prepared for the calls. They say, hey, I listened to your last call. I have these steps. I outlined how we're going to support you and how we're going to reverse engineer your success. All of these things are only possible from these first 3 steps. And then when we make the next ask, because we fulfilled our first promises, a certain percentage of those customers were willing to say yes. In the beginning, it was 10%, and now it's 27%, and it'll be even more in the future as we continue to get more and get better processes in place to win. And if this stuff was interesting to you, you might be wondering why I have the Mosey Lisa in my hands. This is a mega video that I just made of how to build a $100 million plus company. And if that sounds just, I'm showing you some hints. There's way more where that came from. Just click on my face and you'll find out more.
That was really good. Let's see. Oh yeah, I was watching that video earlier. Man, I keep forgetting I'm on stream sometimes. I'm like, whoa, this could be dangerous. But oh, I just noticed there's no thumbnail on the stream. God, I'm dumb. So I'm gonna just put some random thumbnail. Let me get something here. Oops, let me make sure notifications are off. And okay, maybe something like this. Boom, boom. Okay, let's see. Boom. Get this clipped in. What's going on? This will be my thumbnail. So annoying that YouTube doesn't just put up a thumbnail. Like, come on, YouTube. But I guess it makes sense. Okay. Oh yeah, this is the guy.
Where
This guy is the a big motivational guy. And oh wait, there is a thumbnail, sort of. I don't know, man. Okay. So let's see here. I think it's fine, actually. Never mind. But yeah. Let's see. Let's make sure this is all good. Okay, so what's next? I don't know. Let me resize this. Oh yeah, I really wanted to watch Jordan's new video. So let me see if I can find that quick. It is where is that? Let me check it out.
Today, I'm here
Asking women millionaires how they got rich. Let's see.
Today, I'm here with one of the most successful young women I ever met in my life, Miss Margarita. How are you doing today?
I'm great, how are you?
Last time you were on the channel, your business was doing around $1 million a month. And last month, how much did your business generate in sales?
We generated $3 million in sales last month.
You came a long way in a real short time. Can you actually show the viewers maybe some of these results?
Yes, absolutely. This is my Shopify dashboard for the year.
12 million in a year. Can you break that down a little bit, what that business is and how you guys actually make money?
So we're doing the dropshipping model, which pretty much means that whenever someone orders from us, a supplier overseas ships the product to our customer.
And
that's
what
pretty
type of
impressive.
products have been the most successful in your career of doing dropshipping?
I have tested over 200 products, and out of all of them, the products that have always worked the best for me are problem-solving products, specifically that solve insecurities.
And how many years have you been doing dropshipping?
I started at the end of 2018.
Wow, so only in like 5 years, you've taken this business now to over $10 million a year.
Oh yeah.
I want to take it back to the beginning, back in 2018, and hear your whole story about how you got started. So let's take a walk and talk about it. So tell me about your background. How did you get started in this game of entrepreneurship, and where were you born at?
So I was born in Colombia. I'm actually a US refugee. I came here for my safety. My family was forced to come here. I'm so thankful for my parents for bringing me here and literally leaving everything behind for my safety. As soon as I started making money, it was just giving back to them. You know?
Now, at this point, what are some of the things you've been able to do for your parents?
The first thing, my mom got a new shoulder, my dad got 2 new knees, and then they got a house.
I'm sure they're super proud of you. What type of money
New
was they
shoulder
making when
sounds
they came
funny.
to the US? No,
That's
no
awesome,
type
though.
of money like you make today.
Honestly, no. I remember my senior year of high school, my mom had her W-2 laying on the table, and it said $21,000 for a family of 4. But all I know is that they did their best to make sure that I was good, and I never felt low income, if that makes sense.
So tell me about that journey of going from 0 to making your first $1 million.
I saw other people doing it. Honestly, when I got into entrepreneurship, it was a lot of dudes on YouTube, you know? I was like, honestly, if these guys can do it, I can definitely do it.
You started this with your boyfriend, right?
I started actually by myself. I started my own store by myself, and I was doing Google ads, and it got to a point that he was
Google ads are so undervalued, I think still. Google ads are like really, really good. How many videos would be good to upload per day? However, I mean, just one, I would say. If you can do more, that's great.
his store, he was doing good. I was running my store and I was doing good. And together we were like, what if we did this together? Could we do really, really good? So we finally just started doing it. We started selling the 9-in-1 push-up board together. That was like kind of our first product together. And it blew up. We both had our highest month that month when we started doing it together. And we've just been doing it together ever since.
So for somebody that's
That's
watching
so
this
cool.
video right now that wants to start their own dropshipping store, can you give them a blueprint for getting started?
So the first thing you need to get started with dropshipping is find a product that has demand Like I said earlier, anything that solves a problem or solves an insecurity that someone might have is going to be your best bet. The next thing is double down on short form content, TikTok content, Reels, because you're just one viral video away from making your first $1,000 online.
I would agree with that. And if you're a woman watching this
True.
video, Margarita's story is a shining example of what's possible. But wait till you see who we talk to next and how they took their business to millions of dollars in sales.
I right now am known as the booty queen. I actually innovated a technique,
booty
and
queen.
a safe technique on how to do gluteal enhancement without surgery.
How many clients do you guys
Whoa.
bring in a month at this point?
About 8 to 10 patients a day, and I'm pretty consistent unless they fly me out somewhere to teach or I'm doing booties around the United States as well, so it kind of depends.
How much does a business like this bring in per month?
Anywhere between 75,000 up to 200,000, depending on if I'm here or not. But most of my booties are $7,500, and I do it in about 12, 15 minutes.
That's a good deal.
I'm happy.
Wait, $7,500, and she gets 8 to 10 clients a day. That's more money than she said per month. I think she thought per day. He asked per day. That's crazy. Wow.
Happy with
That's a
it,
good
so,
deal, yeah.
absolutely.
Well, I definitely want to go back and hear the whole story about how you started it and got to this level. But maybe first, you could show us around the office and show us where you do these procedures at.
Absolutely.
Taylor, show this real quick. This stuff looks crazy to me. Like, okay, like I was watching one of your videos and I saw this is what you inject people with,
Yeah.
right? Can you explain like what this actually is?
So I use a product called Radius. It's actually a biostimulator, so different from all the products on the market right now.
So you were like one of the first people or the first person to do this procedure?
Absolutely. So it was in 2018-19 when I was developing it. And then actually I got my patent and my trademark for the Bella Vita Instant BBL over here.
Tell me about what it was like for you when you were first starting in your career.
So I come from a very, very poor family. We moved from Brazil. We were like in a 1-bedroom apartment. When I was looking at your story, I had something similar happen. So when I was living in Tampa, I moved back to Miami and I didn't have an apartment. I had 7 credit cards that were completely cashed out, like $20,000 and above. And I had just gotten my car repoed because I didn't have enough money.
Wow.
So I started working at different clinics trying to, raise my bank account. And I was living with my cousin for a year. Thank God she's an angel.
Dang.
Yeah.
Saved me. I paid everything off and then started, the business, and I just kept growing. Right after COVID, I don't know what happened, but everybody was like, yo, my body and my face is falling. You need to lift this up. So I did this on a couple of influencers. We got a lot of OnlyFans girls around here and they were obsessed with it. So they've come back, they've sent their friends, and it kind of just blew up.
Yeah, I know you definitely love the success of
Yeah.
OnlyFans now in the
Oh,
market. It's
really?
probably like some of your biggest clients.
Biggest clients. They got money to spend and it's like their body. So they're selling something that they're investing in. So I love it for them.
Do you think it's a tax write-off for OnlyFans models to come and get something from you?
So technically,
That's a good
if
question.
you're using your body for something, you can have a tax write-off if you have a good accountant.
This next woman turned $200.
That sounds like some bro accounting. That's what I call bro accounting. It's like, I don't know if that qualifies, but she may be right. Maybe in Florida too.
Into a $100 million empire. And she invited me to her house here in Miami to explain exactly how she did it. So let's see.
Damn, that's a big door. Oh my God. That's a huge door. Haven't seen you stream for a while. Sub Nikola Tesla. Nah, Nikola P. Yeah, welcome. I haven't streamed in a while. You're right. But here I am. And I'm going to try to do this more.
It's a nice door. I need one of these doors at my house.
That is a nice door.
Hey, Dr. Tracy, good
Yes,
to see you.
good to
Thank you
see
for
you,
having us
Jordan.
at the house.
Absolutely. I am Dr. Tracy Lynn, and I ran a large direct selling company, Tracy Lynn Fashion Jewelry. We started $200 investment. We grew that business to $100 million.
Wow. That's awesome.
So from 200 to 100 million. Take me back to 200. What was life like when you were first getting started on this journey?
200 to 100 million. That's, talk about a good investment.
With my mother, it was rough. Single mom. She did, the best she could. and we had to eat that government cheese, and we made some good grilled cheese sandwiches. The cheese didn't melt, but we ate it anyway, and that crazy peanut butter in the can, that was what it was. She always painted the bigger picture for me. So I grew up, maybe to others it sounds like a rough story, but when somebody is constantly telling you that you gonna make it and that you're smart and that you got it, you believe it.
That's definitely
Wow.
a difference maker. Like, my mother is the same way growing up. She always made me feel as if I could do whatever I believed.
Well, I'll tell you what,
That's
there
beautiful.
has been 3 iterations of me on this journey. And it wasn't that I didn't have the right formula.
She's right though, and Jordan's right too. Like when somebody believes in themselves or believes in you like a lot, like consistently, even when you don't believe in yourself, I mean, that's why people hire coaches, to be honest, is because they want somebody else to believe in them.
Of product, I didn't have the right formula of me.
When you first started selling jewelry, I heard that you were selling it out of Tupperware containers. Is that true?
That is true. I did start selling it out of the Tupperware container in the church, passed it around in the choir stand, and then it came back full of money. And I got more and I reinvested, and that investment was my $200. I've been
Wow.
fortunate enough to have over 100,000 women in my jewelry business. And some people say, you can't make that kind of money in jewelry. Oh, you can. But I had to be the best person. I had to be the right person in terms of not letting opinions and negativity get in my head. That took me a
True.
minute. What J. Paul Getty said, he said, I prefer to have 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own efforts. There's only so much time in a day and only so much I can do. And I had a love for people. And I had a desire to help other people. Just like you said, we came from low income environments, and I didn't know any millionaire who had it and lost it, or whoever had it. But I believed that I could get it and I could do it. And how I could do it was by partnering with other people to get there. And that was the model.
Well, this video is about
That's powerful. That's powerful. That's what I was talking to somebody earlier. I connected with this one guy that you guys will see on the channel. He's from Lithuania and he runs a pretty awesome business. He scaled a couple brands this year from 0 to like 600K a month. And that's what I was talking to him about, because I told him basically like, yo, if you want to do something together, let's do it. Because we've been connecting for a long time. It wasn't like I just said that out of nowhere, but I gave him an example of what I realized, which is that, for example, Tesla, right? Like when you look at who's on the board of Tesla, it's like a bunch of killers, right? It's like a bunch of people who are just incredible at business. It's not just Elon Musk. Obviously, he's like the face of it. He's the CEO. But most of the biggest businesses in the world, they grow that large because people come together to grow it. It's not because this one guy, made it happen. And yeah, sometimes it is just like one guy, but those businesses aren't like billion-dollar businesses. So she's totally right.
women in business and women entrepreneurs, and there are many women that's going to be watching this video that are so inspired by your story, and men too. You know, guys, I know you're watching too. If you can give one message to the viewers, what would it be?
Shout out to
I
Jordan.
would say believe in yourself. Trust that dream that just will not go away. Take a chance. Stop asking for everybody's opinion because everybody's not going to agree. They can't see the dream that's in you. Go ahead, surround yourself with the right people, and step out and find out you really can do it. Subscribe.
That was so good. Jordan makes such good content. It's incredible. She leveled up. Now her cheese melts. Facts. Her cheese not only melted, but it duplicated and, multiplied. That's so funny. Wow. Okay, I see. So YouTube is changing my thumbnail dynamically. Okay, thank you, YouTube. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Let's see my block formula. Okay, that sounds pretty good. Ooh, social media with Ty Lopez. That sounds pretty interesting. Okay. I kind of want to watch this. I love the My First Million podcast. It's like my favorite, or one of my favorites. Oh, actually, no, this is the one I wanted to watch. I met 94 billionaires. Here's 6 things I learned from billionaires. Let's see.
There are currently 2,640 billionaires in the world that we know of.
That's a lot of damn billionaires.
And on this phone are 94 of them. I have 94 billionaires in my contacts. Some of them are friends. A lot of them are clients.
Talk about a big flex. That's insane. Can you imagine? 96 billionaires in your phone. Wow, this dude really just flexed his power right there. This dude's power level is pretty insane. Wow.
And I bring this up because in some way, shape, or form, they're all my mentors. And I've learned a lot from working with these people, or ways that they interact with people, ways that they communicate, ways they think about life, business, even working out. And because I've done real estate deals with many of these billionaires, I've learned certain habits and mindsets that they have that allow them to operate on a completely different level from most people. Here are the 6 things that I learned from working with 94 different billionaires. First, they text more than they call. Billionaires know the value of a dollar, and they know the value of their time more
They
than
text more than they
anyone
call.
I've ever worked with. And you might be thinking, what? That's weird. Texting? Don't they have calls and lawyers and this, that, whole teams? I mean, yes, they have all of that. But when I'm interacting with them directly, billionaires don't have time for phone calls. Jeff Bezos, who's not in my phone, he makes $2,500 a second. A phone call that takes away time from billionaires making money.
$2,500 a second. That's unfathomable wealth right there.
Is not a good use of their time. But they can fire off a text or a voice note that deletes very, very, very quickly. Oftentimes they use the app Signal so that you're not screenshotting or saving messages, and things can disappear really quickly, especially when we're doing real estate transactions together. A lot of it is very, very sensitive information. But I've negotiated $100 million deals over iMessage. And yet the person I work with who's trying to buy a home for $1 million calls me 62 times, has to meet with me and his family, brings in bankers, brings in a...
This is so true. This is so true. And that's wild to think that this guy's negotiated $100 million deals just on the phone. Wow. Money loves speed. That's a common saying, and it's absolutely true. So, and this is a testament to that.
Attorneys, brings in everyone. Less wealthy people have an idea of what it means to be wealthy, where actual wealthy people understand that being wealthy is just about their greatest asset, which is time. I'm in the middle of 2 negotiations right now with 2 of these billionaires, completely over text. I'd much rather meet in person. They've got great offices. Or talk on the phone or get a meal with them so I can learn. But nope, it's all over text message. Literally saying, hey, do you want to offer 60 or 61 million? They just heart the 60. I guess that's an offer. Guess I'm going to go with the 60 because it's been hearted. The big takeaway, if you are trying to find billionaires to work with, try texting them.
Yo, let me look something up quick. Average real estate agent commission. The average is 1.5 to 6%. So that's pretty good money. That's like $1 million deal right there. That's awesome for him.
Because they do not waste time, not even yours. And they are on their phones more than most people. Takeaway number 2, they are experts at not wasting time. I went to dinner with my first billionaire client years and years and years ago. He ordered, the minute the waiter came over, to bring us water. There was no sitting there and reviewing the menu. There was no asking for the specials, none of that. Here's the water. Okay, I'm gonna have this, and what do you want? And if you don't tell me what you want right now, I'm gonna order for you. We're gonna enjoy the dinner, we're gonna talk. We are on a time schedule. And it didn't feel stressful at all. Honestly, felt relaxing, like we weren't wasting any time. I had dinner with another billionaire, and when the waiter came over right at the beginning, he just held up the menu like this, didn't even look, and said, "Surprise us." Because when you go to a nice restaurant, you know the food's gonna be good. Billionaires act differently, and it's not rude. If anything, it's super, super nice because they understand the value of the waiter's time. Making a decision about dinner is a small decision, but what I've learned is that billionaires make big decisions quickly because that's their job. Number 3, billionaires are always on guard of being taken advantage of. This is also why it's hard to get in touch with billionaires. It's hard to have them as clients. They really trust no one because they've been taken advantage of. They've learned from that mistake.
Do I ever play video games? Yeah, I do. But I'm trying to stream instead of play video games, you know? I want to stream and watch content and get work done. Like right now, I'm streaming, and I encourage every single one of you to pull up some work, whatever it is, right? What I'm doing right now is going through my email, going through my Slack, just answering people, like organizing stuff. These are things that are usually hard for me to do, but it's easy for me to do actually while I'm streaming and watching content because it feels like I'm maximizing my time. So I hope you guys are doing the same. If you're in the stream right now, pull up some work. Utilize this time to be productive. Saludos desde Chile. Thanks, man. Appreciate you, bro. Muchas gracias. I do sometimes play video games, but, you know, I think it's good to relax sometimes. I read Warren Buffett's book. I just finished it. It's such a long book. It's like 700 pages, but I just finished it a couple days ago. And speaking of billionaires, that's what this video we're watching is about. And he spent a lot of his time playing helicopter on his damn computer. And the reason why is because he has a hard time, and I'm sure a lot of people struggle with this, myself included. It's hard to turn off the business brain. Like, it's just hard to turn it off. It's like nearly impossible. The only way to turn it off is by distracting yourself with something else. So, you know, that's where, to me, video games are of value. Sports, probably the same thing, though, you know, like activities, travel. Like when you travel, you don't really want a game because, you know, you're just experiencing so much new stuff. But, you know, I'm not ashamed of it. I like video games. They're fun.
And new people entering into their sphere of influence, into their circle of trust, puts them on guard. Because any new person that is coming into a billionaire's life typically has a reason for being there. One of my tricks in working with billionaire clients early on in my career was working for free. I offered up commissions, and obviously the billionaire can afford it, but it was the gesture. I'm not going to treat you differently from anybody else. What else can I do? The other thing that I did to make sure that the billionaires knew that I wasn't taking advantage of them ever was to get in with their outer circle of trust. Whether it's the landscaper or the nanny or the private banker or the attorney, as quickly as that trust can be understood, it can be destroyed. Billionaires also have no issue in moving on from relationships that don't serve them in like a millisecond. You have a 10-year working relationship with someone who's incredibly successful and wealthy. You lie to them once, make one little mistake. You don't show up on time once. You lead them down the wrong path once, that's it. They now lose all confidence and trust in you, and there are other people who do what you do. They have loyalty when the relationship works on both sides. If it doesn't, they move on. Another thing I've learned from billionaires is that they understand the difference between possessions and growth. And they're not afraid to spend. Now that might sound obvious to you, but it's interesting to watch someone who has a net worth of over $1 billion be incredibly cheap over here and then overspend over here. They might kill a deal over $5 over here because they understand that this is not going to do a whole lot for their success, for their long-term growth. But they'll overspend over here by millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars because it's an investment in greater growth. Now, a lot of billionaires have very cool material goods, huge houses, planes, automobiles, trips, experiences. But if you didn't know what they looked like, you typically wouldn't notice them when you walk down the street because they're not super flashy. They don't wear their wealth on their clothes most of the time. Most billionaires are pretty frugal when it comes to material possessions. The great example is obviously Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett,
same
he's
car.
a bit of an outlier though. I feel like most billionaires are actually pretty interested in material possessions. Like, I heard this other interview from a guy that's close to becoming a billionaire. He's one of my mentors, I would say. And he said, he's like, man, this rat race actually never ends. Like, I was in a yacht party with a bunch of billionaires, and one of them was worth 10 billion. And he said that he's like sad that he can't afford this like mega yacht that's probably like only you can get if you're like worth 50 billion. So I'm like, wow, when I hear stuff like that, I'm like, damn. The rat race never ends. So I think this is a really good point about possessions. And, you know, I think once I reach 1 billion, I don't think I'm going to be that way because I already don't really care that much about material possessions. I'm more of a, you know, if I didn't have a girlfriend, to be honest, I probably would just have like a mattress on the floor. I do like living in like a cool place, but I would just have a mattress on the floor. But she encourages me to decorate. I mean, my office is literally like straight up just so empty. There's like nothing in here. This is my office. So, but yeah, let's keep watching this. This is really good.
Same breakfast from McDonald's with change from his.
And again, make sure you're pulling up some work while we watch this stuff. That's what I'm doing. I'm watching this valuable content here, learning. I got my stream here, like in the corner, my Streamlabs so I can see the comments. And then I got in the middle, I got my work. I'm just working right now, getting some things done, little things, you know. I'm not in a rush to get things done. This is nice. I'm going to do this way more. I'm going to do this like every week for sure, at least multiple times a week.
Cup holder. And then you have others, Saudi royals, you have the Jeff Bezoses of the world, but then you have others. You have Elon Musk, who has no possessions, no houses. Billionaires will certainly spend money, but they'll spend money if it gets them a return. A yacht is a great example. A yacht is incredibly expensive, but they have them because it's an investment in future business. They can have other billionaires on that yacht, and that's where deals get done. Their houses as well, on the ocean in Malibu and Palm Beach, castles in France. They are investments in doing future business because they can say to other people, come to my castle. Let's talk about the deal.
Come to my castle, bro.
Kind of crazy, but if you had $1 billion,
what kind of 1100 BC shit is that? Come to my castle. Let's make a deal. That's actually a huge flex. Can you imagine having a castle? I can't. That's too much, man. Actually, maybe not. That would be pretty cool.
You would also probably have a castle or a beach house. My biggest takeaway is that they only focus on what they are absolutely best at what they are uniquely qualified to do. They don't worry about any of the minutia, any of the work below the absolute biggest decisions every day. Now, obviously, they've gotten to that point where they don't have to do the painting and the building and the hammering. If I want to emulate the most successful business leaders and entrepreneurs in the world today, it's that most of my day should be focused on what I am absolutely best at focusing on. Everything else should be leveraged to other people. It's kind of a mindset shift as well. Using other people to leverage your work is a massive, massive tool. And last but not least, billionaires are just like us. They're regular people with regular problems, albeit higher quality problems. One of my earliest experiences with a billionaire client was going to a private airport to board their private plane. And he was talking to me about how his plane wasn't available because of a mechanical issue, and he was frustrated because he had to get another plane. Now that sounds like a crazy problem, a 1%er, a 0.00001%er problem, right? Absolutely, but he wasn't crying about it. He wasn't crying to me or anybody else. You have a higher quality life. That means you also have higher quality problems. And it was my job to help with that. I immediately from that situation started helping the billionaire clients that I had fix their higher quality problems. And that's how I started to get to know so many of them. Because if someone has a private jet issue, they're not going to talk to the friends they had in college about it. They're not going to talk to people in their office about it because it would be weird and uncomfortable. It's an awkward display of wealth. So they need people to talk to about it. And I wanted to be that person. I'll help you with your private jet. And while we're at it, need a new condo? Oftentimes, yes, they do. So billionaires are just like us, kind of, sort of. They're still humans. They still go to the bathroom, they still sleep, they still want to be happy, they still cry while watching The Notebook, just like you do. And if you can be someone who can solve the high quality problem that a billionaire has, that is your ticket into that society. There was even a New York Magazine profile article on me. They called me the broker to the plutocracy. And then you have to show the definition of what plutocracy means because most people won't know. These are just a few things that I've learned in my 15 years of selling real estate to some of the most successful and wealthy people in the world. And I just wanted to share them because they've been really, really helpful to me in building my career, and hopefully they'll be helpful to you. If you like videos like this, make sure to share, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and then leave notes in the comments for what you thought and what else you want me to talk about. And now I have to go back to work.
Go back to work. That was a great video. I love that. I love learning from billionaires, man. It's fun. Currently, I'm working on importing and exporting. Yeah, just grinding. Awesome, dude. That's perfect. I actually got to go now on a call, but this was awesome. I'm going to do this a lot more. This was a lot of fun. So appreciate y'all joining and getting some work done with me and learning with me. This was great. I got a whole page of notes that I took and a bunch of work that I got done, and we got to hang out. It's been